Okay, so for this next really quick and easy 5-minute craft, we're going to be implementing these Dollar Tree fleece scarves. And this is just one of the men's fleece scarves from the Dollar Tree. But what I wanted to point out here is that there are tons of DIYs all over YouTube using these fleece scarves as fabric. But what makes me really want to cringe is when I see YouTubers cut off at least 2 to 4 inches from these scarves just to remove the fringes on the end. And they waste so much fabric like that. And this is so easy to come off because all it's not going to show up really good on camera, but there's like a little scalloped edge where they pierce the yarn through to make the fringe, and it's just yarn, and all they do is loop it and pull it through, and it makes like a little knot. So all you really have to do is open that loop and the string slides right out, and here's all the fringe that came off of this scarf. And you don't want to discard it because you can use this for another craft. And that's all I wanted to say about this, that it's just so easy. Please don't waste any fabric, because those 2 to 4 inches that you're cutting off the edges just to take off that fringe, you can utilize it towards another project. And so now I'm going to show you what we're going to be doing with this. So from Dollar Tree, you're going to want to grab yourself a roll of this non-slip shelf liner. And then you're going to want to snag a box of these paper coasters, and this comes in an 8 count box. Next, you're going to want to grab one of your coasters to use it as a template and draw a line around your fabric to create your circles for this project. Next, you're going to add a generous amount of Mod Podge and purposefully giving it an even distribution, taking that Mod Podge all the way out to the edges. You want to make sure you get those edges really, really good so that when you lay down your shelf liner, it's flush to the ends. So now that we've given it that complete coverage, now all you want to do is just slide that shelf liner right on, adjust it accordingly, and allow it some drying time before moving on to the next step. So I wanted to share with you that the reason why we're doing this in steps, applying one layer of shelf liner at a time and allowing the Mod Podge to dry, is because I went ahead and did one beforehand, and I just did it with regular glue to see if I could maybe shorten the steps. And when I did it with the glue, I wasn't too happy with the end results. It's hard to see it that good because it's not really showing up on camera, but it appears that the glue ate through the shelf liner material, and it just left it with this rough texture that I wasn't happy about. Nothing that another shelf liner couldn't remedy, because all I would have to do is slap another piece of liner on top and you would never know of this. But this was the method to my madness and the thought process behind me showing it step by step and doing it one layer at a time with the shelf liner and allowing the Mod Podge to dry. So now we're ready to add another layer of that Mod Podge on top of the shelf liner that already dried, taking it all the way to the edges just like in the first step, and repeating steps 1 over again. And applying that second piece of shelf liner and just allowing it to set and dry. So here's what it looks like once the Mod Podge is set, and it does dry clear like I said. And what I'm showing you here is that there is an overlapping edge from the fabric, but that's okay because we're going to be remedying that now. And we're just going to take these scissors and we're going to cut along the edge of the perimeter, because now that that fabric is nice and stiff, it's going to allow us to get a nice polished finish. Following the same steps that we did to adhere the shelf liner to the back, we're going to be adding that Mod Podge to the front as well, making sure to take that Mod Podge all the way out to the edges, because we want to make sure we secure that fleece fabric onto the coaster. So now we're just going to lay this piece of fabric onto the top of that Mod Podge that we evenly distributed, and then we're going to hit it with another coat of that Mod Podge to seal it in on the top. And there is a little overlapping on the edge, but we know how to remedy that once it's dry. So now we're going to be adding some more Mod Podge and taking it to the edge just like we did in the steps before, and this will give it a nice seal. And it might look kind of crazy and you might think to yourself that you're ruining it, but I promise you guys, I kid you not, when I say that this does dry clear. And remember, we are going to be utilizing these coasters to protect our surfaces, and we're going to be sitting our glasses and cups on it. So you're going to want to do this extra step to make sure you seal it in. So now the final step would be to finish up the edges, and we're going to be using this string of jute twine that I cut down to size, measuring it out around the circumference of the coaster. And we're going to be using a little of this liquid adhesive that I also purchased at the Dollar Tree, and it also dries clear just like the Mod Podge. So we're just going to be adding a little to the perimeter of the coaster, and this is going to give it that nice polished look, and you won't be able to see any of the edges. And here is the end result and outcome of this project. And I just think it looks so shabby chic and rustic for those of you who are trying to do that farmhouse, country, log cabin type of look. This will blend right in. And so I'm just loving the way that it came out. However, because your girl is extra, we are going to be taking this to a whole nother level, and we're going to step it up a notch by converting this little coaster project that we created to a more personalized Christmas ornament. And so what I'm showing you here is that I purchased some embellishments from the Dollar Tree, and this is from the Elegance collection, and it's just a little deer head, and I'm going to be removing the tags, and I also have some cute little mini pine cones and a little sprig of berries from a branch. And I'm showing you here that this did have a little bell embellishment on it, but I removed it. And we're going to just be adding this on to the coaster and centering it in the middle, and then adding this branch that I removed from a Dollar Tree wreath. We're going to add that in the middle, and we're going to embellish it as such. So we're just going to go ahead and add a nice generous amount of this glue onto the deer head, center it as best as we can, right smack in the middle of the coaster, apply a little pressure, hold it in place, and allow it to set. So now that the glue's set, we're going to be dressing this little guy up. I took this little branch that we took off of a wreath, and I sort of shaped it into a V form. So now we're just going to be adding glue to the connecting points. All three of the points that are going to connect to the deer, we're going to add a dollop of glue on each side as such, and then place it down onto the coaster. So we're doing point 1, point 2, and point 3. And then we're going to put that right on to the coaster. So now all we have to do is finish embellishing this. And so I have these two little pine cones that I'm going to be adding side by side. And then I'm going to be putting the berry sprigs in the middle. So let's just go ahead, and nothing to it but to do it. Let's just add a little dollop of glue onto this pine cone and set it down accordingly. So I added the berries facing down so that the pine cones wouldn't overpower them and cover them up. So now I'm just going to add this other little pine cone side by side to his other little friend there. And now you can see the berries in the middle. So now all that's left is to create a little hanger for this guy. So remember I said waste not, want not. We have this little piece of yarn from the fringe that we cut off of that scarf, and we're going to be utilizing it as such on the back of the coaster and creating a hanger to hang our little ornament. So this step here is just a little extra precautionary. We're just going to be adding some reinforcement to that little hanger that we created with the yarn. The coaster in itself is not that heavy, but remember we did add on all those embellishments with the deer head and such, so we want to make sure that it's going to hold in place. And here is what this little cutie looks like, all dressed up and ready to be displayed either on your tree or wherever you care to display and showcase him. I'm showing you how we reinforced him in the back, and he's ready to go. So now for this next 5-minute DIY craft upcycle, we have this little ready-made ornament from the Dollar Tree, and it's just made out of MDF, and he's a cutie all in himself, but we're going to take him up a notch by dressing him up a little. And this is from the Merry Collection and Dollar Tree. So now we're just going to remove these tags. So it did originally come with a little embellishment on the top of the brim, and I took the liberty of removing it, but now we're going to fix it to our style, and just by adding a simple piece of that fleece scarf that we would have normally tossed had we cut off the fringes like I was mentioning at the beginning of this video. So remember, waste not, want not, and we're just going to be adhering it to the MDF as such. So we're just going to add a bead of glue to the top of that brim as such, and then we're just going to take that piece of fleece fabric and try to center it the best we can and just lie it right on top of that glue. And flipping it over to the back side, we're just going to be adhering it to the center by adding a bead of glue to each one of the flaps on the side and pressing it firmly in the center of the MDF so that we could secure it. And that's basically it for this project, guys. It was really that simple and that quick, but just that little piece of fleece fabric now ties this little guy in cohesively to the other projects, and I just think he looks adorable. So for this next DIY craft upcycling, I have for you this little cylinder frosted glass that I had left over from a Dollar Tree candle that I burned, and I cleaned it up so that I can reuse it, and I do that often. I like repurposing things that I buy. So now I'm going to show you how we're going to take this guy up a notch. So I have this piece of leftover fabric that I have from a fall decor project. And so literally we're just going to be taking this piece of edging and we're just going to tie it around this little cylinder. And I'm not even going to be adding any glue or anything. We're literally just going to take it and tie it into a bow just as if we were tying our shoelaces. So now I'm just going to take this little berry stem and I'm literally just going to tuck it into that knot. I don't even think it's necessary to glue because it will be securely in place just by tucking it in. So now we're just going to add a dab of glue in all 3 of the contact points of this little piece of greenery that I removed off of another Dollar Tree ornament. And we're just going to do the same thing we did with the little deer head by adding a little dab of glue to each of the contact points and in the center. And then we're just going to slap it right on to that bow underneath the berries and calling it a finished project. OMG, can you say cuteness overload? I am just so in awe with this little frosted votive holder. And to think I took my inspiration from a Dollar Tree wish list item that I had not been able to find at any of my Dollar Trees. And so I just decided to create my own. And honestly, not to toot my own horn, I think mine came out a lot better. And I hope you agree. So for this last 5 minute Dollar Tree DIY upcycling, we're going to be utilizing some of this Mod Podge again, of LED flameless pillar candle, and a pack of these red truck loot bags from the Dollar Tree. My bad, guys. It would appear that I accidentally deleted the video footage of my adhering this image to the pillar candle, but nothing that I can't walk you through really quickly. Basically, all I did was cut the image down to size and adhere it with some of that Mod Podge, and then allowing it to dry and applying another layer of that same Mod Podge to the top to seal it in and create that polished finish. And here it is, all lit up in its glory, and I am just so pleased with the end result. Also, all lit up and festive was our little votive candle holder that we created. And I took my inspiration from my Dollar Tree wish list item, and I am so happy with the end result as well. And that concludes these 5 minute craft DIYs, upcycling from the Dollar Tree, guys. I hope you enjoyed them as much as I enjoyed creating them for you. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, go on ahead and do so, because this is my most craftiest time of the year. This season is when I put out my most crafts, and you're not going to want to miss a beat. So I hope you'll meet me back here in my next video. Bye now. Talk to you soon.